Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. I just came across we did Crazy Fat Ethel 2,
Yes. Um,
which is pretty bizarre, and
yeah.
I might be able to. Of course, that was years ago at this point, but I
Mhm.
might be able to remember that. That
Yeah,
might be
is that what you want to talk about? Crazy Fat Ethel
sure.
too?
Crazy Fat Ethel 2.
Great. That is a great choice. um, I guess the best place to start would be the beginning. How does Crazy Fat Ethel 2 open?
If I remember correctly, Crazy Fat Ethel 2 opens with a flashback to Crazy Fat Ethel 1. Of this very obese woman stabbing someone to death.
Mm-hmm.
And then we hard cut to a shot on VHS, modern day Crazy Fat Ethel eating pudding,
Right.
right? She loves pudding and she eats an entire bowl of pudding unedited. It was horrifying and
Ooh.
brilliantly disturbing.
About how long is this scene? Just rough estimate?
Oh, how long does she eat pudding?
Yeah.
35 minutes. She eats pudding
Ooh.
35 entire
That's
minutes.
that's a rough 35 minutes.
It's very long. I want maybe a minute and a half,
Right,
maybe a
right.
minute and a half, and then the psych ward where Crazy Fat Ethel is being held is undergoing some financial troubles, and so there's a scene where two businessmen decide that they have to let Crazy Fat Ethel go because they don't have the money to hold a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
And so Crazy Fat Ethel goes to Grandma's house. That's right, Grandma's house. Okay,
Grandma's
I'm remembering.
house.
Crazy Fat Ethel goes to Grandma's house where she meets the eccentric cast of characters, including a mustache wife murderer.
Mm-hmm.
He murdered his wife and he has a mustache. He's pretty awesome. The man who thinks he's a spider,
Okay.
or was
Yes,
or
I'm
did he
remembering
think he
him.
was a did he think he was a fly or a spider?
I think it's a spider, and he's like hugging the walls,
That's
and
right.
yeah,
He puts his hand on the walls and his hands kind of like tap the walls as if he's trying to climb it. He also later in the movie he has an extended dance sequence where unaccompanied by any music, not having anything to do with the plot, he kind of jumps around a bit like a spider.
right, yes, and maybe you guys are theorizing that's the director or something like
Oh, that's
that.
right. That was
They
just the
pointed the
director.
camera wrong. Yeah,
They accidentally turned the camera around. That was just the director
right.
doing his normal interpretive dance. Oh, and also we get to meet Tim Burton. Yes, Tim Burton is also in charge of all of these crazy people at Grandma's house, and Tim Burton, for some reason, wants to feed Crazy Fat Ethel dog food.
Right.
And we call him Tim Burton because he looks exactly like a young Tim Burton, very thin, very pale, crazy, emo goth hair.
Right.
And he wants to give Crazy Fat Ethel and everyone working there dog food, presumably to save money. I don't really remember.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to mirror that opening sequence where Crazy Fat Ethel eats pudding for 37 minutes, we get an extended sequence of Tim Burton scooping dog food onto individual plates for 38 minutes.
Man,
It's a rough movie to get
it's
through.
yeah, I can imagine. And just unedited, just him putting dog food on
Just
every plate.
scoop from the can onto the plate, back to the can, onto the other plate. Maybe arrange it on the plate a little bit. Back to the can, another plate, unedited scooping dog food on plates in case we didn't know that he was giving each individual inmate dog food. It
Just
was
to confirm it to the audience, right, right. As you do.
right. Of course.
They say show don't tell. That's what the director is
That,
doing, I assume.
you know what? I guess he could have just told us he was going to feed them dog
Right.
food, and that would be as visually interesting as individually scooping all that dog food.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Crazy Fat Ethel is the reason that Crazy Fat Ethel kills people is because she's hungry. And I know what you're thinking. This might be insensitive to fat people. And you would be incredibly correct. It's very insensitive to people who struggle with eating disorders.
Right.
But that's it. That's her only motivation is she gets hungry and then she kills someone in order to get some sort of food. She kills Tim Burton because he has a Snickers.
So,
And it's like, hungry? Why wait? Kill Tim Burton.
Right.
It's gonna be a big one. Hit bonus.
It's not handled with tact or subtlety. It's just very obvious.
It's just she's hungry. She sees food and she kills that person in order to get the food. Yeah, that's it. And that's all Crazy Fat Ethel was as well, because half of this movie is flashbacks to Crazy Fat Ethel 1.
That was gonna be the other thing I asked. Like a main motif is that they're just flashing back to the first movie and playing raw footage from it.
Right. And it's the exact same thing. She kills people because she's hungry. It's incredibly jarring, though, if you can imagine. Crazy Fat Ethel 1 was shot on film, and so it kind of looks like you expect a movie to look.
Mm-hmm.
And Crazy Fat Ethel 2 was shot on VHS. And so every time they cut back and forth from 2 to 1, there is this stark quality change that is shocking. It's like someone going from fifth gear and plowing down to first every time they switch back to VHS.
Right.
She kills Tim Burton. There's the dance sequence, which is very important. The spider dance sequence. We talked about that. Oh, then Crazy Fat Ethel has to kill Grandma.
Oh no.
Right, because it's Grandma's house. It's she holds all the crazy people because she's super nice Grandma, and she says I'm okay with crazy people. They can live at my house. But Grandma catches Crazy Fat Ethel with a candy bar, or maybe Crazy Fat Ethel just murdered someone, but it might also be a candy bar.
Right.
I forget. It's one of those. She either just killed someone or has a candy bar. And she can't let Grandma get away. So Grandma starts running away, and Crazy Fat Ethel stabs Grandma.
Was this presented in a dramatic or intense way?
If I remember correctly, Grandma had one of the greatest lines in the entire movie.
You give me those pretzels, Granny. I will not.
No, wait, no, it looked like a scene out of a comedy movie because Grandma can't act. She's Grandma,
Right.
and she doesn't fall down after she's stabbed. She kind of gently sets herself down because she's Grandma. You don't want her to break.
Oh, absolutely.
And so Crazy Fat Ethel. Now everyone in the house is dead. I think she kills. I forgot to mention she killed Mustache, wife killer.
Mm-hmm.
Why did she kill Mustache, wife killer? That's a really important question that you should be asking yourself. The answer is I don't know. He probably had food.
Probably. Does the director know why she killed him? Is the real
No.
question.
No. And then she also killed the spider crawly guy, and I don't remember why. Probably because he had some mac and cheese.
Right.
We can only assume he had some mac and cheese, so she had to kill him. Then the denouement, the big finale of Crazy Fat Ethel 2 is the director of all the crazy people comes to visit Grandma's house to check on Crazy Fat Ethel. But of course, at this point, Crazy Fat Ethel has killed everyone in the house. And so there is an intense action sequence in which Crazy Fat Ethel chases businessman around a couch, Scooby-Doo style.
Ethel, put that goddamn knife down now! Put that knife down!
They just circle a couch for 5 minutes.
And this is the big ending of our story.
Almost.
Almost.
Almost. Because Crazy Fat Ethel kills Businessman. He doesn't have any food, so I don't know why she killed Businessman. And then goes outside. So Crazy Fat Ethel kills Businessman and then goes outside to dance with a dog in the sunlight. So there's a puppy. She's dancing, and she seems really happy about killing all the people. And then that's it. Then it's over.
Then the movie ends.
Yeah. And that's Crazy Fat Ethel 2, a brilliant horror masterpiece.
Well, I did have a few questions, but the Crazy
please.
Fat Ethel was a curveball. How do you explain that?
That's the what? The Crazy Fat Ethel?
Yeah. I guess a question would be: is it comparable to anything that you've seen before?
No. It's so, we've seen kind of like attempts at sequels, and we've seen movies that use a lot of footage from other movies before, but the Crazy Fat Ethel was this spectacle in nothingness. There was so little to Crazy Fat Ethel 2, and then they kept cutting and reusing footage from Crazy Fat Ethel 1. And these extended sequences, her pudding eating sequence, the dog food sequence, these elongated sequence, the Spider-Man dances in the front yard sequence meant nothing to the movie. So we just couldn't figure out why they would make this. And the horror elements to it were almost non-existent. There was very little blood and gore. There was very little suspense. And so we couldn't figure out, was this a cash grab?
Right,
but
yeah.
Who was it cash grabbing to? The rampant Crazy Fat Ethel fans? It was a very cynical attempt at making a movie and hoping to put it in the direct-to-video aisle, I guess. Because this was clearly shot in an afternoon on VHS.
Right, yeah, that was going to be my other question. Why did they make this? But, I mean, maybe no one knows. Maybe.
And unfortunately, the actress who played Crazy Fat Ethel is no longer with us. She didn't act in much. She acted in the Crazy Fat Ethel movies, and then had her big breakout in 9.5 months. She had the Hugh Grant movie, 9 months, 9.5 months.
Right, and if you recall, what kind of character did she play? I think I remember.
She played Angry Woman.
Right.
She gets out of a car and yells at Hugh Grant as he's trying to take his pregnant wife and or girlfriend to the hospital. And that was her big breakout role. So we can't ask Crazy Fat Ethel anymore. And I think we've tried to reach out to the director and we can't get a hold of him. So no one knows why Crazy Fat Ethel 2 was made. Maybe they had a free afternoon.
And they wanted to do something with this footage that they had. So
there, for a little bit, there was an attempt at a Crazy Fat Ethel 2 remake. Or Crazy Fat Ethel remake. I think they had a Kickstarter. So very recently, actually, within the past couple of years, they tried to get a Kickstarter for a Crazy Fat Ethel remake that went absolutely nowhere.
Well, were there any big names tied to it to entice people? Maybe Steven Spielberg?
Steven Spielberg actually was not directing. He was going to star in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, much like the Clumps, they were going to put Steven Spielberg in a fat suit to play Crazy Fat Ethel, because he wants to branch out now into acting.
Yeah, of course. That's brave. That's very brave of him.
It's very brave. So they had the problem actually was the amount of money it would cost to make those fat suit prosthetics for him would be too much. They'd lose all the budget.
Right. Well, unfortunate. We may never see any more Crazy Fat Ethel cinematic universe. This may be the last.
It's a fascinating idea. Like, I get it. I want to say the first one was made in the 70s or 80s, And it's kind of that prime exploitation period where you were just seeing people take something like just a fat person and fat person's hungry, so they kill people. That's prime un-PC, I don't give a fuck 70s era.
Right.
And so like seeing something like that being remade nowadays would be hilarious. There would be so much outrage
Yeah.
over a fat person is so hungry that they kill that I would almost want to see it made.
Right. Yeah, it would be interesting.
It would be.
Yeah.
And there would be a way to make it a commentary on body image, and you could do it cleverly where you could make it a commentary on people's reaction to overweight people.
Right, right.
And it could be really fun. You could do it in a fun kind of B movie way, but unfortunately, it would just never, it would never happen. The Crazy Fat Ethel name no longer holds any clout.
Unfortunately.
Right?
Oh, well, I guess my last question would be, should anyone watch this movie?
That's the important question. Should anyone watch this movie? That's the big question. That's the $1,000,000 question. Maybe.
Maybe. A solid maybe.
A solid it's not a lot of bad movies people watch because they're so bad that the badness is what makes it funny.
Right.
And Crazy Fat Ethel 2 is so bad that you want to die. And so like if you are here's how you should watch it. Let's say you're having a bad movie party and everyone's having a great time. Your friends are having such a good time they don't want to go home. That's when you put on Crazy Fat Ethel 2 because it'll clear the room.
And everyone will just slowly vacate the premises.
Everyone will slowly leave after your really fun bad movie night, and that's how you get your guests to leave.
That has a use, I suppose. It's not completely useless. Crazy Fat Ethel. We can put that on the box.
Or you can show it to your friends and try to convince them that it's a Harmony Korine movie. see how many of them fall for it.
Well, that was Crazy Fat Ethel. Thank you so much, Jack. I super appreciate you coming and talking about it.
Thanks for having me. I think it was disturbing remembering Crazy Fat Ethel 2.
I'm sorry.
You've scarred me for the entire week now. So
I apologize
congratulations
for that.